Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, you had a fantastic weekend. So, this is going to be the watch list for the week of November 20th. What I want to do is I want to start out on the VIX, which is the volatility index. And as you can see, over the past couple of weeks, it's been coming down quite substantially, creating calmness in the market, which has been allowing investors to get back into stocks where the fear has actually dissipated significantly. So what I would do is I would watch a couple of levels. One, you can see we found support back here at about the 1386 level, which is where we're sitting, and will potentially open up on Monday morning. But what you'll really want to look for is, can we maintain this key level all the way down here at 1269? So if the VIX continues to drop, you should see continued momentum in a market rally in SPY and the triple Qs. One other thing to note is this is a holiday week, so you're going to want to pay close attention to overall market volume to confirm a trade. So we should probably have good volume Monday and Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday. Friday is going to be relatively light. So I would encourage you, if you're going to take a trade on Friday, have very tight stop losses, because when there is a lack of market momentum, typically you'll just burn theta. So that's where we're at with the VIX. If I was going to watch it spike back up, look for back to 1546, where we rejected back to the downside. So these are your levels, your 1546, 1386, and 1269. So if we stay in this range and the VIX moves up, we'll see a little bit of a sell-off. But if we continue to the downside, we should see a nice rally up. Let's take a look at the two large market indexes. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the SPY. So you can see that we've been kind of in a consolidation range over the last couple of days here. So we've been trading literally right around this previous pivot high into a little bit of a support level right back here, which if we go all the way to the left, you can see we rejected, we found support, we rejected, we found support, and then we failed. And the same thing is happening here. We have a support at about 448 and then a high of about 451. The hard part is, while you're trading in this range, you want to be very cautious not to take a trade in between at the 450 level, hoping you go 450, 451, or 450 down to 448. That typically has just been a real challenge with moving the overall market premium. So what would I look for? I would look for a retest of that 451 and then a breakout back to the upside. So if we move to the upside, where are we probably heading? Back up into the 453, 453 and a half. So I would keep that as an overall target with price momentum. Now, if we break to the downside, what I do want to watch is there is a huge gap on SPY, and this is where it could get quite dangerous. So when we look at the gap, gaps typically fill 80 to 90% of the time. You'll see that there is a huge gap down here below. So if we break the 448, and I don't know that we'll do it in a single day, but it's possible, we will probably come down and touch the top of the gap fill. And then over time, if the market sentiment continues to be weak, you'll have a target of about 441. So again, what I would look for is I would look for a hold of where we rejected back at this 451 level, have it come up, retest, and back up into newer highs at 453. If we break down from the 449, 448.8 level, I would probably guesstimate that we're going to start to approach this gap fill. Okay, let's look at the triple Qs. So on the Qs, very similar story. We are back to now approaching a most recent high, which is back here sitting at 387.98. So let's go ahead and mark that. We have not been able to break that yet. We pushed up to it, rejected down. But do note yet again that there is a fairly significant gap sitting below here. And again, gaps fill 80 to 90% of the time. So we're kind of in a range. Let's look at it on a lower time frame within a 4 hour, and the exact same thing. So if you've been trying to trade this over the last couple of days, it's been quite frustrating. You can see at the bottom of the gap fill, we rejected, came down, tested, blew all the way through it, and now we are sitting here just chopping along. So I would watch, obviously, Nvidia, Microsoft, Tesla, and Meta to see if they gain momentum to help move the cues on an overall higher level time frame. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. Nvidia has earnings on Tuesday, and this one has literally just continually been ripping higher since their last earnings announcement. Now note, we are going to be approaching yet again an all-time high, which hit at 502.66. So my guess is that traders will probably not break this all-time high until the actual earnings release comes out Tuesday after hours. Well, what happens if Nvidia misses? Well, we're probably going to want to watch and see, does it go for the gap fill back to the downside? So there is a fairly sizable gap fill, and this would be a really big miss, which is about, looks like 15%, maybe a little bit more back to the downside, which would be quite significant. So if I was going to play Nvidia, personally, I'd probably wait for the earnings announcement to come out before you decide to go long above the previous all-time high. Or if you want to take a short position, I would probably play it short back down to where we broke out momentum back up to the upside at 473. So let's look at it on a 4-hour time frame. You can see that we broke down back here at 475, and then we have strongly pushed back up once we broke the resistance level to the upside back into this high. So you're going to be probably trading in a range here until earnings come out. So keep an eye on Nvidia. It's been a real winner lately. Let's also look at Microsoft. So Microsoft had a $10 billion investment in OpenAI, where Sam Altman was fired by the board on Friday. So Microsoft closed at all-time highs, and then you can see what it's been doing after hours is it's been trading down. Now, there's a lot of market sentiment that thinks that maybe the board will reinstate him. Will Microsoft have something to do with it? Obviously, keep an eye on the news. But if Microsoft were to break down further, I would presume that it will drop back down to this 359 level where it found prior support and then moved up. And if it should break down from there, it could be a little bit more movement to the downside. There is, I believe, a small gap fill right here, which it's really hard to see. But between this 357.63 and the high was 357.54, there is a minor gap fill right here. So that would be another area that you would look to for a potential sell-off and then a bounce higher. But as far as Microsoft moving significantly higher, there would have to be a really positive news catalyst to do that. My guess is you probably have more propensity to the downside than you do to the upside. Let's also take another look at news event, Tesla. So Tesla broke some market structure back here. I think I highlighted this where you can see it broke trend. Once it broke trend to the downside, it really fell. Now it's been gaining some market momentum. Elon Musk, again, in the news with some anti-Semitic comments regarding Twitter. So the concern will always be if Twitter struggles, Apple, a lot of the large market cap companies have now paused advertising, and Elon owes billions of dollars in debt for the purchase of it. Will he have to sell more stock in order to make his payments to the investors or to the banks. So what I would do is I would watch it. It had a nice rebound back up to about 246, came down. We have a little bit of a gap fill right here. And if that fills and bounces and we start to get a market momentum to the upside, I would watch for moving back toward this trend line up back to about 250. So you could probably start to target the 250 calls into strength, but I would wait for it to clear this prior candle high of about 240, give or take. Watch for momentum. Momentum down here has been fairly strong, looks good. One of the other names that I would keep an eye on this week also is going to be Meta. You can see with Meta, it's had a huge run. It was back at almost a double top here. It marked it. There we go. Came down, pushed back up, found resistance, came down. We are now breaking up and we are finding support. So with Meta, what I would watch is back to where did we have a couple of triple tops on the left-hand side. So Meta, possibly a bounce and a move back up into new highs at that 350 range. And then let's go ahead and let's do one more. We'll go ahead and we will look at Apple. Apple has had some really good strength. These are prior trend lines that were, the stock was moving down. It broke, moved to the upside, and is now reapproaching, again, let's see, did we close the gap here? So the low was 190.69. The high of this candle was 190.96. So looks like that gap was filled, okay? So what we would do is just watch to see, can we get further momentum to the upside? So will Apple start to move back toward that 196 and then ultimately the all-time highs of 198 and break into 200? But overall, volume has been decreasing. So I would kind of keep an eye on that. Let me just remove. And let's look at the trend on overall volume. So overall volume on Apple has been decreasing. We would want to watch for an increase in momentum to really start to push this higher. It's been kind of stagnating. And then let's just do one more thing. Let's take a look at it on the 4-hour time frame. You can see where we rejected here is where we're now starting to find some support. So Apple looks strong, and hopefully a push back into 196. So overall, market momentum has been very, very positive over the last couple of weeks. As you know, or may not, November is typically the strongest month of the year for the indexes to move higher. So we have about 10 days, 11 days left in the month, and I presume that we will continue on this strength. Always be cognizant of overall market news, and then pay attention to the volume being a holiday week. So with that, those are some of the trades that I'll be watching and ones that I will most likely take. And with that, hopefully you found this useful. If so, hit the like button, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Take care and have a great trading week.